What's going on, guys? It's CJ from Suck War Central back for another chapter review. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. But before we get into the meat of this chapter, I know I've been saying every week, oh, this chapter is crazy, so much hype, oh my god. I do not feel that this week, and that is a good thing. Not every chapter can be crazy hype fest that tops last week. This felt sort of like a transitional chapter, establishing people's motivations and locations, and I think these types of chapters are very necessary. I think Shonen Jump has been pressuring authors to just generate hype nonstop when that shouldn't be how a series is written, and it's kind of what led to the downfall of like Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I never should have doubted Togashi, the GOAT, but I have to confess that this trend had me worried that the same would happen to Hunter x Hunter. Glad to see I was mistaken. But yeah, there's still tons of stuff to get into this chapter, so yeah, let's get into the specifics. So these panels of the troop walking through the waste disposal area are pretty haunting. It shows you just how big the boat is, and I love that. It almost feels like a little primer for the Dark Continent, where everything's super huge. Also, we find out that those stairs go to tier 2, and that's one step closer to tier 1. It looks like within a matter of chapters, most of the spiders could be on tiers 1 or 2, which is a terrifying thought. We also find out that Nobunaga apparently makes his own swords, and that could be a clue to his ability. Yes, making stuff is more of a conjurer thing, and Nobunaga's an enhancer, but it could be something like he enhances his ability to make swords through traditional means. This stuff about the sewage worker interviews being a way for the Heoli to kill people is also super interesting, and it's some nice world building from Togashi. It also reminded me that the Heoli have a construction worker, a civil engineer, and a repairman among their ranks, and I think a sewage worker too, so this plan suits them really well. Anyway, Nobunaga and Finks and Phaeton split up. Well, Nobunaga splits off from Finks and Phaeton, but that's a really bad idea in my opinion. Nun fights are all about matchups, and when you're alone, there's a much higher chance of getting jumped by people you have poor matchups against. And with the way things have been going, I'm guessing Togashi is going to show Nobunaga's ability like right before he gets killed. Anyway, so then we've got this panel of the transmitter switching back at the Heoli hideout, and this gives me a bad feeling. Togashi is very economical with his paneling and really only has pages with no dialogue, like entire pages, when he wants something to really make a huge impact on the reader. And this whole laundry room is just so creepy and detailed, and it makes me think he's been drawing this same room a ton because something is really going to go bad. Something really bad is going to happen in there, and it's going to go down very soon. So I'm so excited to see what that is. Moving on, we start with Henry and Zakuro walking amidst a crowd of people that are heading to Halkenberg's funeral, and that also really gives me a bad feeling. Just seeing illustrated that there's going to be such a huge crowd gives me anxiety, and this, along with stuff later in the chapter, makes me think Togashi's building up the funeral to be a major set piece. Hunter x Hunter arcs always have this one moment where Togashi puts the pedal to the metal, and like with the Ant arc, it was the palace invasion. With York New City, it was September 4th. If we get a chapter titled Halkenberg's Funeral Part 1, then you know we're in the end game. The end game can take a while though. I mean, York New City's September 4th had 18 parts, so don't get too worried that the arc's about to end anytime soon. Anyway, Jesus H. Christ, the way Lynch's neck is snapped is chilling. Spiders do not mess around. And I know we've been talking about how the spiders keep making all these high IQ plays and having all these really smart takes and figuring stuff out. Well, Henry does the same in this chapter and immediately figures out that Benolanov was not Hisoka and that it was probably the Phantom Troop. And this is extremely bad for everyone. Henry's takeaway is that if it's the troop, they'll have to fight the Cha-R family, and this would be catastrophic. Right now, the only hope for the Black Whale is the agreement between the GU and the Cha-R to crush the Heoli family together. If they ignore that and start fighting amongst themselves, then the Heoli are going to get way more out of control than they already are, and everyone is screwed. Martial law is going to get declared. Every mafia faction is just going to be going on a bloody rampage, and it will be complete chaos and anarchy aboard the Black Whale. If that happens, everyone is legitimately screwed. The Black Whale is going to sink, and I don't think anyone can stop that. So they're holding on to balance by a thread here, and that thread could snap at any moment. If the GU have any ability even remotely similar to Lynch's, they can find out that Benolanov was the killer, and then it's over for everyone. Except that there's one way I can see this not happening. Now, it's clear that Nobunaga was sort of scouting Henry for the spiders, and defeating other members is a way to join. Henry and Benolanov could end up fighting each other to settle this, and Henry might be granted the opportunity to join the Spiders. I don't think he'll take it though, which could lead to war anyway, and even worse, Benolanov is probably going to get killed by Hisoka in a matter of chapters, so they can't really settle it if that happens. And really, going from will avenge Lynch to this panel of Chrollo just makes it look like they're headed for all-out war with the Spiders. So now we've got Chrollo using his love dial ability to search for someone, and this is very interesting to me. The way he talks about not being able to find that person in a crowd makes me think that, unlike a lot of people were theorizing, he's not searching for any one specific person. Rather, he wants a specific type of ability, and he's just hoping that in a place like this, with 200,000 people aboard the ship, that ability exists and he can find someone who just happens to have what he's looking for. It's really a shot in the dark and kind of a more desperate plan than I'd expect from Chrollo. I think it shows that even though he still has his genius and ability to come up with good plans, Shalnark and Kordabi's deaths have affected him. They have thrown him off his game. He's just gone from one of the smartest people we've ever seen to slightly less of a genius. But against Hisoka, he really doesn't have much room for error, and slipping up even that much could be his downfall. Anyway, he's contemplating heading up to Tier 1, and this will likely just be pouring gasoline on the fire. As I said in my previous theory video, I think as soon as he does, Hisoka is going to let Kurapika know that the Spiders are here, and that is going to cause all sorts of other problems. Something else I want to note with all this Chrollo stuff is that we haven't seen Shizuku. Shizuku was supposed to be part of the Chrollo-Benolanov group, and so I have a feeling she's doing something off screen that Chrollo asked her to do, and it's going to make us go, oh, that's so cool, or it's going to make us realize something. But yeah, we're not being shown the full picture, but just remember that Shizuku is a variable in this equation, and she's probably off doing something very important. Don't know what it is yet, but that's all I have to say on Shizuku. We then get some info on the sacred treasures that Chrollo is planning to steal, and oh boy, this is huge. I want to remind you that the seed urn is what started this entire thing, and these objects are being given equal importance to it, so they must have similarly bonkers abilities. I'm particularly interested in the Shrouded Zen Buddha. This is probably somehow the source of those shadowy hands that attacked Kacho and Foog, and procuring or destroying it might be the way to end the succession war. Ironically, this makes Chrollo and Kurapika's goals kind of align, because in a roundabout way, both of them are trying to disrupt the succession war. And then this Blade of Divine Favor, I'm not sure what to make of it, but I have an idea. It could be what allows the king to see and control their guardian spirit beast after winning the succession war. So maybe if a prince were to get a hold of it early, they might just be able to do that even if they weren't king. And I just had a crazy idea. I know I've been on the train of Halkenberg targeting Benjamin, but what if he's still trying to take out Nasabi? I mean, one of the first things he did was point a gun at dear old dad. What if he gets him with the possession arrow? Then he could seize the Blade of Divine Favor and gain control over his beast, and he would just suddenly be a nightmare of a threat in the succession war. I mean, assuming that's what it does, but it kind of lines up. Anyway, back to Chrollo's thoughts. He believes that these treasures will somehow allow him to evolve Skill Hunter, and Chrollo becoming more powerful is a terrifying thought, and I really hope he gets these treasures just to see what that looks like, and it also makes me so curious about what this ability he's trying to acquire is. But I had another thought. I know I just said in a weird way Kurapika and Chrollo's goals now align, but I actually do not think that will be the case. It's also possible that stealing the treasures will not get rid of the Succession Wars barrier because he has to keep them intact and not destroy them. If that works anything, if it works anything like when he steals abilities from people, he has to keep them alive. So this means that to help the lower princes escape the war, Kurapika will have to fight Chrollo. And yeah, now that I say this, it looks like the fastest track to tying all these plot threads together. So I'm convinced Chrollo is going to get the treasures and become a target for Kurapika again. Anyway, then we get this chilling panel of Chrollo talking about how it'll be fine if he dies, and damn, talk about major death flags. But on the other hand, I could also see Togashi wanting to show us what an evolved Chrollo looks like before he dies. So I'm not sure which way it's going to go, but either possibility is really tantalizing. I want to see what exactly Chrollo means by this backup plan. Knowing the trend of Hunter x Hunter lately, it's almost certainly something to do with Postmortem Nen. Postmortem Nen seems to be the linchpin of this arc, and Togashi is just cramming it in everywhere he can. Also, I just want to say it's really cool that we get to see Hockenberg's men carrying the coffin. Specifically, we see the faces of Shedul and Yuhirai, the ones who are at Karapika's Nen class, and it's just a nice little emotional touch. And these panels of the funeral with the phone ringing are just so ominous. It's like the calm before the storm. Really, this whole chapter is. The ringing just adds this feeling of like, yeah, something's about to happen. There's someone on the phone, and when you pick up, it's the Grim Reaper. Okay, it's a metaphor. Okay, anyway, so yeah, looking at this crowd, I just get that sinking feeling again. Like most of those people are probably not going to survive whatever happens. I think the Heali are going to launch a massacre here, and that could be the inciting incident that gets martial law declared. At this point, it's probably enough. And that final confirmation that Krollo is heading to Tier 1 is just, oh my god, things are about to get crazy. I want to say the ability he's looking for is something really unusual. It could easily be Hulk, Camilla, or Terror Sandwich's ability, but I'm more excited by the ability that it belongs to, or the idea that it belongs to the Zodiacs or even beyond Netero. I would love to see that clash, although if it's beyond Netero, I can't see that ending well for Krollo, so that's probably not going to be the case. I feel like the climax of this arc is going to start next chapter, but I also want to remind everyone that the climax of the Chimera Ant arc was a palace invasion that went on for like 60 chapters, so I do not mean the arc is about to end when I say that, just that things are about to go into overtime. In any case, I cannot wait to see where Hunter x Hunter goes next. I hope you enjoyed this latest chapter chat and that you'll join me in a few days when my analysis comes out. You may have also noticed I opened up channel memberships if you want to support me. I do have 2 jobs and a bit of a hectic life, so every little bit helps if you feel like helping. If you don't, that's fine. I love you guys, and I'm so honored to have you joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.